Hi YouTube. Today we're going to compare a striker fired pistol to a 1911, and both of these handguns are chambered in 45 ACP because let's face it, why make a video on a 9mm when you have a 45 ACP gun you can show, and who watches 9mm stuff anyway? So what we're going to compare here, we have a Caspian custom built high-end 1911, and we have a very high-end polymer striker fire gun and an FN tactical 545. So before I go any further, I'm going to show the whole YouTube world that we like to be safe here and we don't like to get people hurt. So I'm going to show you there's nothing in either one of these guns. Everybody is safe to watch this video and nobody can get hurt. So what we're going to do here, we're going to show you that this is a Caspian 1911. This was hand built, custom just for me. This is a one-off gun. It was built by my local gunsmith here where I live, and this thing is pretty decked out here. So some of the features this thing has, it has an extended mag release on it. It has extended slide stop, extended thumb safety. Front strap is checkered on it. It has a one-piece mag well that's all blended in and everything. The back strap's checkered. It has an extended beaver tail with a memory hump on it. It's got the ejection ports lowered and flared. It has a flush cut off slide stop on each side. It's got a match grade Ed Brown barrel that's flush cut and reverse crowned in it, and if you can see, it is an Ed Brown barrel in this. It's got high target sights on it, so it's got a real good sight picture on it. It's pretty much top of the line. This is a one-off gun, but I wanted a pretty decked out 1911 that's full size when I made this comparison, and this one's a real good candidate for it. The one we're going to be comparing it to, this is a fairly new design. I haven't done a lot of talking about this yet, but this is an FN 545. It's also chambered in 45 ACP, which is the Lord's caliber. And this one's accessorized out. It has a Surefire X300 weapon light on it. It's got a Trijicon RMR on top. This is a dual illuminated RMR that doesn't require the batteries on it, and it comes from the factory with a threaded barrel. It also has texturing on the front. It has pretty aggressive texturing here on the side. It has changeable back straps here, so you can make it thick or thin. It's got suppressor height sights. And I actually do have a suppressor ordered for this gun that probably is a few months away still from being able to take possession of it. But basically, this is about pretty decked out. Everything's ambidextrous on this. So when you turn it over, the slide stop and the mag release is ambidextrous on this from the factory. So what are our advantages and disadvantages? Well, I'm going to start off with a big advantage for the polymer striker fired. This thing is the capacity. I have never seen another 45 ACP handgun ever in my life that held this much ammo. The magazine holds 18 rounds, and with one in the chamber, you can carry 19 rounds of 45, and I cannot think of another 45 ACP handgun that holds 19 rounds of 45. When you get to the 1911, this is going to hold 8 in the regular magazine and 1 in the chamber, so you're going to be at 9. So it's exactly half of what the other one is because it's half as thin. If you notice, this is a double stack, this is a single stack. Now, some of the other advantages is this thing's got an accessory rail on it, so you can put stuff on it, whatever you want. I know the Gucci Glockers like to do lasers and stuff like that, and I guess I went a little Gucci-fied on this thing too when I did it. This thing comes factory milled out with a plate system, and it has all the plates for all the popular optics. You can mount an optic on top of it. Has a threaded barrel, so you can put a suppressor on it. This is all comes from the factory this way. The 1911, now people are going to make the argument that you can do all this to it, but we're talking about a conventional 1911. There is no AMI controls on it, so this is pretty much going to be a right-hand shooter's weapon. And there's no plate system on top, so you really can't mount an optic on it or anything like that. So you're going to have to rely on iron sight. So this is going to be more of a traditional, old school look when you're shooting something like that. Now, we've talked about the shortcomings of the 1911s. Let's talk about the good stuff here. Good stuff is this thing's made out of steel. It's a good, heavy, good, well-balanced weapon in your hand. It's more ergonomic than most polymer guns. I mean, this one here is not that bad, this FN, but it's more ergonomic, and with the full steel frame and everything, it controls the recoil a little bit better than with a lighter plastic frame. So one of the biggest advantages, and I've talked about this a million times, is going to be this trigger. I mean, it is absolutely, they don't make bad 1911 triggers, but if you look at this trigger here, there's a take-up. That's all the take-up there is, and the pull on this thing is probably 3 pounds. And when you get into the reset, your reset's going to be right here, and then it goes off, and that's it. There is never going to be, ever, and people are going to argue with me, and that's fine. People argue with me every day of my life. There's never going to be a striker-fired weapon that's going to have the trigger that a 1911 does. It's never going to happen. So the FN, I would say this is probably one of the best striker-fired factory triggers I have ever personally encountered in my life. But I'm going to show you up close. I know it's hard to understand this looking at a video, but I'm going to pull it. You see this has this little safety feature here, but this is the take up on it. It's a little mushy feeling, but that's your take up against the wall, and then you have a little bit more over travel, and then it just goes off. And the reset on this thing is going to be right here and then done. Now this is an exceptional trigger for a factory striker fired gun, but it is never going to be this gun right here. Never. Now, you lose a lot of capacity here that you do to this one. This one's going to be a little bit lighter, have more recoil on it, but this one here is going to be accurate. It's got a better barrel in it. It's just a far superior design. When you're talking about going to the range, we're not talking about standing in combat or anything, but going to the range, this is going to be far more accurate. Now, what we've done to this one here, and this isn't usually what I do, is put all these accessories on guns. This one does have the RMR on it, and that will help you with your accuracy. If you have a hard time with eyesight and everything, people can pick up a fiber optic, like a red dot or something like that. I don't think I can get this to show up on camera, but this one has an 8 MOA, which is the largest one you can get, green triangle on it. My eyes pick up green the best, so that's why I chose to go with that. This one's going to have the advantage of fast getting back on target, picking up your target, just because of the red dot on it. Well, I call it a red dot, it's a green dot. This one here is not that bad though. This one's got an awesome sight picture, and people's done it this way for over 100 years. They've used iron sights, and let's face it, folks, I mean, I know I did it, but you really need an optic on a handgun. Do you really need that? This isn't a scope. This isn't a long-range weapon. This is, at very most, you're going to be shooting 25 yards with a handgun. And people are going to argue, I already know, in the comments, that they can shoot their handgun at 100 yards, and they can do that. Oh, I'm sure they can. But should you be doing that? No. If you're shooting at 100 yards, you need a rifle. This is a 25-yard inside, 25-yard gun, especially if you're doing any kind of competitions or anything like that. If you're using for self-defense and you're shooting past 25 yards, you're committing murder. And murder's illegal, the last accounts I had, and you're probably going to prison for it. But so basically, This optic, the reason this optic is on here is because I've never had a handgun with an optic on it before, and I wanted to give it a shot and see how it goes. And to tell you the truth, I'm really not used to it yet. I haven't done hardly anything with this gun because I really want to get it in its finished configuration with the suppressor on it, and I'm waiting on good old government to give me the clear to go pick up my suppressor on it, and we'll do a video on it if and when I ever get the suppressor. It doesn't seem like I'm ever going to get it. I'll show you. But basically, another advantage to this thing is the takedown. I mean, this thing, it takes down like every other polymer trigger or polymer gun. You just pull the trigger on this thing, pull it back, release that, and the slide comes right off. The 1911, there's going to be a little bit more to it than that. You know, you have a barrel bushing, and I'm not going to do this one because it's so tightly put together. You need a bushing tool to take it apart, and you just got to be a little bit more careful when you're doing the 1911s. But if out of the box stock, I would say you got a big advantage for target shooting. Now, we're not talking about concealed carry or anything. Target shooting with the 1911, it's got a better trigger on it, and it's going to be a little bit more accurate because of the tight tolerances and everything. With this one, you can get back on target easier, I guess, with the optic on it, and you got a higher capacity. So they both have their advantages and disadvantages. This one's never going to corrode or anything. It's made out of polymer. This one, I mean, this is stainless, so it's not going to corrode, but it can sure scratch up and everything. And this is a gorgeous gun, and I wouldn't want to see it get all scratched up or anything. Not going to baby it. It's still a firearm. But failures with a 1911, you know, it's usually user error, but you're going to have more malfunctions with a 1911 than you will one of the striker fired ones. I mean, it's just a technology thing and all that. So this one you don't have malfunctions with because it's got the best of everything in it. It's all hand fitted together. It's timed correctly, and I use good magazines. These things are magazine dependent, and I'm going to swear by this until I die that you should be using Wilson Combat 47D magazines. They always work. Always. They never don't work. You're never going to be able to blame it on the magazine if you use Wilson Combat magazines. With these, I don't think there is aftermarket magazines for it, but they just they usually just feed really well. I mean, these guns here, I mean, they've all copied pretty much Glock's design from the 80s, and it was just a genius design. And I mean, I don't like to see a lot of change either, because I like the iron, shooting heavy iron and everything like this. This is a better looking gun than this will ever be, but I'm also not stupid. I know that this thing here has got many advantages over this gun. So it's all in what you like, folks. And between the striker fired and the hammer fired 1911, trigger's always going to feel better on these. It's just always going to feel like a better trigger on these. I mean, you just cannot, you're never going to have a bad 1911 trigger. They're getting better with these striker fired ones, but all the components and everything on the inside, you just can't get them to feel like a 1911. You can get them to feel good, but they're not going to ever be a 1911 trigger, and there's just not a lot you can do about it. So I'm not going to show favoritism on them. I mean, both of these, if you're talking about cost-wise, these are both on the top end of their spectrums on like this is probably one of the most expensive guns you can buy in the striker fired world. This is going to be one of the more expensive 1911s because this was custom built. This is a one-off one, and there's nothing in this that's not top-notch stuff. Like I said, I have a video on both of these if you want to see everything done to like this 1911 and everything. Click on the video for the Caspian custom 1911 and you'll see all the stuff done, but everything on this thing's top notch. This is everything on this is just external and externally mounted stuff. This thing here, if you want to modify this, you can do it yourself. That's another big advantage. If you wanted to, for some reason, to change the barrel in it or something like that, I mean, you can literally just change the barrel out in under a minute. This one here, it's not going to be that easy. It's going to take you a little bit over a minute to get it apart, and you just can't slide a different 1911 barrel in it. They all have to be hand fitted. Everything has to be hand fit inside of a 1911. If you look, everything's polished and matched up and everything on the inside of there. This one, not so much. It just goes together. You can change the whole slide on this thing. If there was some reason why you wanted to put a different slide on it, you could stick a different slide on it. It would just function that way. The 1911 is not going to be that way. It's going to absolutely probably not even fit. It's going to have to be fitted on there, and it's just not as easy to do. So they are modifiable. These 1911s are, and like this one's living proof. This one was built from the ground up. A blank Caspian frame and slide was purchased, and everything was built and fitted into it. This one here, I mean, they sell polymer 80 frames, and people put them together in like an hour, the whole thing. This one here is going to take somebody who doesn't know what they're doing months and months and months of study and trial and error and everything. So these things are a lot easier to mess with, but I don't know. It's a catch-22 here. Which one that has the advantage over the other one? I like them both. That's why I have them both. I just want to show you the differences in a striker-fired polymer pistol, and I just chose the FN 545 Tactical and a regular government size, full size 1911. Show you some advantages and disadvantages, and if this one wasn't such a bad gun, I mean, it's been around over 100 years and people are still using them, so it can't be all that bad. This one's literally a brand new design. It's less than a year old, so the story's still to be written on this one, but we do know that polymer guns are not going anywhere, and they've been around a long time, probably going on 40 years now, and they're still going strong. But anyway, folks, let me hear which one you would choose. Are you a striker-fired person, or are you a 1911 single-action hammer-fired guy? Leave a comment down. Tell me which one you like, dislike. See what you agree or disagree with me. And if you have any questions on either one of these weapons, feel free to ask me, or you can just refer to the videos that I have on each one of them. And thank you very much, folks, for watching my video, and you folks have a great day.